Some breaking news crossing the terminal now. Israel and Hamas have reached a ceasefire deal, according to people familiar with the matter. We're going to go straight to Washington, D.C. now to hear what we know about this. And Nick Wadhams joins us. So, Nick, what are these people familiar telling us?
Well, after a lot of back and forth, we are being told that there is, in fact, a deal. There had been a last-minute snag where Hamas had allegedly put new demands on the table, including the complete evacuation of Israeli forces, but that now appears to have been resolved. And for the first time since November of 2023, looks like we have a deal. A lot of details still to be confirmed here, but for the time being, this is expected to bring a halt to the fighting.
Yeah, we'll want to hear from the White House. We'll also presumably want to hear from the actors in the region. But, Nick, have we any idea what it might mean? How many days of a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire? Are there hostage negotiations coming to a head with this as well?
Right. I mean, I think we're still waiting for those details, though we did just get a social media post from President-elect Trump. No doubt that his team played a role in pushing this across the finish line. But you can be certain that Israel would not have agreed to a deal unless there was an agreement around the release of at least some of the hostages who are remaining in Gaza. So the question is how many and when, and then also the big question looking forward, you know, if there are violations to the ceasefire, what's that going to mean for its overall viability? Because, you know, we have seen before that there have been violations. So we'll have to see whether this one sticks.
Now, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but this all comes just a few hours after National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that Hamas had been rebuilding, right, and was practically as strong as it ever had been in the Gaza Strip.
Right. I mean, U.S. officials, Biden administration officials have been saying for the last day or so they've been on the brink of a ceasefire and that they see this really as the only way to resolve this problem. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said yesterday that they believe essentially that Hamas has been able to recruit almost as many people as it's lost since October 7th of 2023, essentially saying, listen, Israel, it is impossible to eradicate this group. Their numbers remain undiminished, and you're really going to have to go through with a ceasefire, with a political solution, because as those recruitment numbers show, feels like there's not a really clear-cut military solution to the problem.
Now, it's been 15 months of fighting so far. Can you bring us up to date on how many negotiations have been ongoing? Who will take credit, for example, for this ceasefire? And bear in mind, we still don't know if this is just a temporary ceasefire, if it's just a ceasefire through the inauguration, and what will happen after President-elect Trump becomes president.
Well, I mean, you know, success has many people who will be taking credit for it. I mean, we do know that both the Biden administration and the incoming Trump administration were involved in these conversations. Steve Witkoff, Trump's envoy for the Mideast, has been in the region. Qatar played a crucial role here. But certainly it does appear that the pressure that President-elect Trump brought to bear on this did provide at least some form of accelerant. You know, the common argument was that Prime Minister Netanyahu listened to Trump more than he would listen to President Biden. And Trump could essentially tell him it was time to do a deal, as he'd been signaling for some time. So it does feel, at least in this case, like President-elect Trump is going to take a victory on this one.